Hi everyone. In honor of all the Warhammer 40,000 10th edition news dropping, I have something very special here today. This is a new edition Tyranid. Now obviously I don't have access to Games Workshop stuff before everyone else. No, far from it. This is a 3D print of a sculpt that is done in the style of the new Tyranids. And I thought I would take the image that Games Workshop has released of their new official, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes off camera, quote unquote, official color scheme, and give it a try. See if I can replicate it, come up with a scheme. Who knows? Maybe then I'll be ready when the new box drops. So let's experiment. Let's find out together how this works, um, and we'll see how it goes. So after he came off the printer, I cleaned him up to give him a base coat of Mechanicus standard grey spray. Although the color doesn't matter, I just chose a nice neutral mid-tone. I'm going to start off by painting him pretty much all over with some Rakarth flesh. I've got a rather old, grimy looking brush here. Um, and yeah, let's just go pretty much all over his skin, ignoring the chitinous parts of his armor and ignoring his gun, and just give this two thin coats, as Duncan Rhodes would say. I'm not going to be concerned if I do go over the parts that I'm going to paint purple later. I'm just going to take this big old brush and jam some paint in all over. With that done, he's got a nice smooth coat of Rakarth flesh on him. I did it over two coats, so it's nice and thin. I also went ahead and painted the gun the same color because that's got a nice fleshy tone to it as well in this color scheme. So next up is a wash over this Rakarth flesh. Looking at the image, it looks sort of fleshy, but also purple, but brown. There's a few things that I was thinking about. I've got Reikland Flesh Shade here. I've got a brand new Targor Rage shade, which is a purpley brown, but it actually looks a little bit more pink to me. So I'm going to use some Carroburg Crimson, if it will go into focus. Uh, this is one of those things where I bought the paint, never thinking I'd ever use it, and now I found a way to use it. So I'm happy that I've justified my purchase, and my wife won't kill me. So let's go ahead and slap Carroburg Crimson all over this guy's skin. I won't do the gun in this color. I'll just do the skin. And yes, this is very dark and going on and overriding all of that pale Rakarth flesh, but that's fine because I'm going to layer up when I'm done here. So Carroburg Crimson, got some on my palette there. I'm going to just go all over his skin and get all of that musculature. When I get to the weapon, I'll be a little bit slower just to make sure I'm only getting the actual Tyranid flesh. That wash has definitely given me the shading I need, but it's also darkened down all of the skin. So I'm going to return to Rakarth Flesh now to layer back up. It looks like in the official images they did layer it up, but if I'm going to be painting Tyranids, I'm going to be painting a lot of Tyranids. So I've got my Rakarth Flesh, and I've got a large makeup brush, and gotten most of the paint off of it, and I'm going to just dry brush. And I'm quite close to the camera, but you can sort of see what I'm getting at here. And that is to layer that color back up, but leave the recesses. Now, there might be some places that I can't get to, and for that I will need to just use a regular brush, get a very, very thin amount and layer it up. But for the most part, that is doing what I'm after. So before, after, you can definitely see the difference this is making. So I'm going to go around very gently and just do little circles back and forth, avoiding those creases and those recesses, but getting that color everywhere. And this will take some time, will take a couple of layers, but however much time this takes, it'll take a lot less than if I was to slowly layer this up without dry brushing. And then I'll finish up the skin with a light dry brush of Palid Witch Flesh. And this is just very lightly to pick out a few of the details a bit brighter. You can see it there on the face, how bright that makes it. So I'm just going to focus on a few places that the light will really hit. Top of the tail, the cheekbones, top of the arms. Just a very light little dry brush of that. And with that, I'm calling the skin done. That is the majority of the mini completed in, what, 4 steps? I got the messiest part out the way first, so I really didn't care about hitting the rest of it. I'm going to paint the rest of it now. I'm going to move on to the gun. I've got here some contrast paint. This is Gulliman Flesh, and this is going to just go straight over that Reichland Flesh shade and give it a nice, gross, fleshy tone, but a different fleshy tone to that of the actual Tyranid skin. I'm going to do one coat for now, but I can always go back and darken it down at certain parts. The official image looks like it has a bit of a gradient, so I might go back and just wick away some of it over there and leave a bit more towards the front. I'll leave that to dry for a bit while I carry on with the back of his carapace, I suppose is the right word. I have here Nagaroth Knight for a nice dark deep purple. I'm going to go along, this is watered down a little bit just to flow into those cracks and crevices. And I've got a medium sized brush here. I think this is a small base brush apparently. Just any medium brush will do, just to get that back carapace there without really touching the skin. If I do, I'll just do my best to tidy it up, but for the most part, let's avoid that. Get the back carapace all the way down to the tail, as well as his head over there. The carapacey part of the weapon will be black, as well as his hooves, so it's just his back. That is a beautiful purple. Well, while that finishes drying, I won't wash it yet. I'm going to carry on with the next color that's going to use the same wash to speed things up. That is the black details. I have here Corvus Black, which is not quite pure black, in order for us to wash it down later and get some recessed shading. So I'm going to carry on now with this Corvus Black, which is a bit of an off black, but of a very dark grey, and pick out this little guy's hoofy bits, his little claws at the back there, his claws at the front here, as well as the carapace parts of his weapon. There's also a few other little things, like there's a little hooky over there, and a little toenail over there. I'm going to carry on now and just get all of these. And now with that dry, I've got here some Nuln oil. It's the new one for those keeping track at home. And I'm just going to go along and put this all over his carapace for the purple to make that nice and dark and especially get into those recesses, as well as for all of the black parts. Just as you see there in the light, you can see it's actually just a very dark grey. But now it's got shadows and recesses and depth. So let me go along now and just pick out all of the places that are both black and purple, making sure I don't get too much pooling and rather get it into all those recesses. That Nuln oil has done a great job of going into all those recesses and darkening things down. I'm just going to go back to the original purple, that Nagaroth Knight, and just layer up on some of this part here just to make it a bit brighter. Effectively missing the recesses there, keeping that dark, and just layering up back to that original color for the rest of it. I'm going to do this fairly quickly and not worry too much about it. And then it's time to highlight it up. So now I have one shade lighter. This is the Xurius purple and a much smaller, thinner brush. And I'm going to just effectively take the edge of my brush and edge highlight a bit. It's a bit difficult with the camera in the way. I'm going to go along now and just using the side of my brush highlight all of the little armory bits. The easy part is the top here. It does get a little bit trickier when it comes to the sides. Just make sure I got the right consistency there. And just once again, if I can get in focus there, using the side of my brush wherever possible to pick out those highlights like that. So this is probably going to be the most time consuming part, but I will now go around and highlight up all of his little purple armor pieces. I actually really like how that's come up. It's brightened up a little bit and given it a bit more volume between that shade and that highlight. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Let's do a similar thing now with all the black parts. I have here some Skaven Blight Dinge, just because it's got a little bit of a dirtier tone to it. And I'm going to do a similar thing here, just going over and highlighting all of the dark grey black parts. Right, we're pretty much done. I've got here a little bit of Volupus Pink just for his tongue. And a little bit of Skeleton Horde for his teeth. And there you have it. I could take him a step further and do some additional highlights, but for now I think I'm going to just pop a base on him and call him done. If I'm painting this for an actual army, this is probably where I'd stop for some rank and file things like Tyranids where I would need a lot of them. So let's put a little base on him and see how he looks. And there we have it, my first 10th edition style Tyranid. Now obviously this is just a starting point for the more, I would say, HQ units and the fancier elites and everything. I might go for a second highlight on the purple, but at this point, for rank and file guys, I think this is a great example of what the color scheme would look like and how much effort it would take. And honestly, it didn't take that much. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. If you like this, please let me know. If there's anything else you want to see me paint, pop a comment down below. Otherwise, have a great day and thanks for watching.